Light Yagami Death Note is a very intelligent. Light Yagami was just an ordinary high school student until he found the Death Note, a notebook that allows him to kill anyone by simply writing their name. With his unmatched intelligence, Light doesn't just use the notebook, he turns it into a weapon of absolute control. He sees himself as a god, eliminating criminals to create a perfect world. But his hunger for power quickly consumes him. He outsmarts the greatest detectives, manipulates those closest to him, and slowly transforms into the very thing he once despised. The scariest part? He never sees himself as a villain. To him, he's the hero, and nothing is more dangerous than a villain who believes he's righteous. Professor Moriarty, Sherlock Holmes, is a criminal. Behind every unsolvable crime in London, there's one name lurking in the shadows: Professor Moriarty. He's not just a criminal, he's the architect of chaos, a mastermind who operates from the shadows, controlling an entire web of crime. Even Sherlock Holmes, the greatest detective in the world, admits that Moriarty is the only mind that can match, if not surpass his own. What makes him terrifying isn't brute strength, but his ability to manipulate, deceive, and always stay 2 steps ahead. He doesn't just commit crimes, he turns them into intricate puzzles, knowing that by the time his enemies figure out the answer, it's already too late. Lex Luther, DC Comics, is the most dangerous man alive. Lex Luther is proof that you don't need superpowers to be the most dangerous man alive. A billionaire genius, he believes that Superman, a godlike alien, is a threat to humanity. But unlike other villains, Luther doesn't just attack physically. He fights with strategy, manipulation, and technology far beyond human capabilities. His mind is his greatest weapon, making him one of the only people in the world who can truly challenge Superman. He builds weapons, manipulates governments, and even convinces the world that he's the hero. What makes him terrifying is his relentless obsession with power. He won't stop until he proves that intelligence, not brute strength, is the ultimate force in the universe. Grand Admiral Thrawn is a brilliant tactician. Most villains rely on brute force, but Thrawn turns war into an art. A brilliant tactician, he studies his enemies, learning their culture, history, and psychology, to predict their every move before they even make it. He doesn't just win battles, he dismantles his opponents piece by piece until victory is inevitable. He's calm, calculated, and completely emotionless, making him almost impossible to predict. Unlike the usual power-hungry warlords, Thrawn doesn't act out of ego or anger. He fights with precision, turning every weakness into an opportunity. If you're facing Thrawn, you've already lost. You just don't know it yet. Gus Fring, Breaking Bad, is a deadliest villain. Gus Fring is the perfect example of how intelligence and patience can create the deadliest villain. On the surface, he's a polite businessman running a successful fast food chain, but beneath that calm exterior, he's one of the most ruthless drug lords in history. He controls his empire with an iron grip, eliminating threats before they even realize they're in danger. Unlike other criminals, Gus doesn't act out of anger. He plans every move like a game of chess. He kills not for pleasure, but for efficiency. He's methodical, precise, and always 1 step ahead. And by the time you see his true nature, it's already too late. Ozymandias, also known as Adrian Veidt. Ozymandias, also known as Adrian Veidt, isn't just a villain. He's the smartest man in the world, and that's exactly what makes him terrifying. He doesn't fight for money or power, he fights for what he believes is the greater good. But his idea of saving humanity comes at an unimaginable cost. Unlike most villains, he doesn't act out of anger or revenge, he acts purely out of logic. To him, sacrificing millions to save billions isn't evil, it's necessary. He doesn't just think ahead, he plans decades in advance, calculating every outcome until victory is inevitable. His intelligence allows him to manipulate, deceive, and execute his vision flawlessly. The scariest part? He succeeds. Johan Liebert is a psychological horror. Johan Liebert is not just a villain, he's the embodiment of psychological horror. Unlike other villains, he doesn't need weapons or superpowers. His mind is his deadliest tool. He manipulates people so perfectly that they willingly destroy themselves, believing it was their own choice. He can turn a good person into a murderer with just a few words, and he does it all with a smile. He's charming, intelligent, and completely devoid of empathy. He's not just a villain, he's a force of nature. And the most terrifying thing? He never needs to lift a finger. His victims destroy themselves, and by the time they realize they were nothing but pawns in his game, it's already over. The Riddler is an amazing villain. The Riddler doesn't just commit crimes, he plays games, testing his enemies with deadly puzzles. His obsession with proving his intelligence makes him one of the most unpredictable villains in fiction. Every crime he commits is a riddle, and solving it is the only way to survive. But his true genius lies in how he manipulates his victims. He makes them think they're in control, only to reveal that they've been playing into his hands all along. His crimes aren't just about power or money. They're about proving that he's the smartest person in the room. And if you can't solve his riddles, you don't just lose the game, you lose your life.